If I'm being honest, the finals kind of snuck up on me. I think it did for a lot of us out there. Games seem to do that these days. It's happening right now with all the POW World insanity. God damn, people were really looking to play Pokeguns, weren't they? The thing is, I really enjoyed the finals. I still do. I hop on for a match nearly every evening, and I almost always have a good time. I wouldn't rank myself amidst the hardcore players by any measure, but I have a nice, pleasantly casual perspective on the game. I did pull this off, though. Yeah, that was all skill, no luck involved at all, I swear. Even got the frickin' little snap in and everything, hell yeah. Anyway, it came to me as a bit of a shock to learn that the finals is down to about 13% of its initial player base count. This relatively new title from Embark Studios had stormed onto the scene, accruing hundreds of thousands of concurrent players during the weeks following its full release. Now that number has dwindled to roughly tens of thousands. That's not an unhealthy number, but my initial impression upon hearing the statistic was that something must have gone terribly, treacherously wrong. Then I began to use my brain, and instead I wondered, why is it that games lose so many players so quickly? And what does it take for a game such as the finals to survive in the long term? With those few dozen neurons actually doing something for once, I managed to come up with a couple of answers. For the past half-decade, the Battle Royale genre has dominated the free-to-play shooter space. There is a massive, rabid fanbase for these games. In the last few months alone, Fortnite has evolved into something entirely new, with endless crossovers and an apparent future as a platform rather than a singular title. That's actually what made the finals so interesting to me. Not only the fact that it wasn't a Battle Royale, but rather that it did something relatively unique. When I play the finals, it really feels like a game which borrowed ideas from a plethora of other titles, mixing together the old in order to make something unexpected and fresh. The gunplay is reminiscent of tactical shooters like Counter-Strike. The movement feels somewhere between Battlefield 4 Mirror's Edge and Apex Legends. The loadouts and character archetypes even pull inspiration from the likes of MAG, Brink, and Team Fortress 2. It wasn't just that there was this concoction of various ideas brewing in one game, it's that the concoction often tastes really good. To my surprise, the devs implemented all these systems surprisingly well. But that might actually be part of the problem we're addressing, on a surface level at least. You see, the finals asks that you take advantage of all its myriad mechanics in a more exploratory way. There's very little hand-holding. I'm not going to claim that you need to actually put some thought into a round of the finals in order to win, but yeah, actually it's kind of true, I will say that. Luck definitely plays a role, but this is a game that wants you to consider everything it has to offer, and then take advantage of it all. And for some, that might be too much to learn. Play enough, and you'll discover the complex array of options you have in each game. From jump pads and zip lines, insane map verticality, all the different gadgets, and the secret sauce, destruction, there are 1,000 different ways that you can mess with your opponents or have them mess with you during any given engagement. And when I use the word dynamic concerning the finals, I'm almost always referring to that advanced destruction model. It's just so core to the game. By calculating the map teardown server side, every busted wall and chunk of rubble is presented consistently to every player. It's kind of mind-blowing. Honestly, this is the biggest reason I continue to play the finals, and why I believe it has staying power even now. But that's not all you have to consider. From the different weapons and tools made available to you, to the high time to kill, to the deeply complex strategic element that the destruction introduces, I feel there's a higher skill ceiling in the finals compared to many contemporary games. Unfortunately, a high skill ceiling doesn't always make a good first impression with new players. I don't believe this is the primary reason for the player base drop-off, but it does contribute. One needs to invest time in the game to learn new creative strategies, often by having those strategies employed against you. It doesn't always feel good to lose as you learn, but that's part of the process. Almost every strategy has its counterplay. Goo nullifies turrets, fire disperses gas, light builds are mobile and squishy, while heavy builds are slower and tankier. There's a lot of thought put into the fundamental experience, but it takes time and effort to learn these things for yourself, and even more so to recognize what kind of playstyle you can capitalize on from match to match. In spite of what the community may screech, I think the finals is actually a remarkably balanced game. Some are more than willing to put up with this, discovering each and every tactic which provides them with an edge. Some less so. That's totally understandable. Personally, I think this complexity is actually one of the final's strengths rather than its weaknesses. But either way, it may have contributed to this dwindling player count. While the finals borrow some ideas from some old-school titles, it is not without its more modern elements. There is naturally a Battle Pass. While some have claimed the Battle Pass to be a bit too grindy, I would bet that the most dedicated players wrapped up collecting all those gestures and outfits and emotes weeks ago. Without that extra sense of progression, many are going to seek out a new game for the time being, and I wouldn't blame them. There's a lot of great options out there at this moment. But the mere existence of a Battle Pass, as well as time seasons, implies a certain mindset concerning the development of the finals. Embark Studios are indicating their intentions to make for a continued effort with this game. From balance changes to player options, or more maps and modifiers, the promise is that this will be a mercurial, ever-shifting, evolving landscape. It needs to be, in order to keep up with the competition. For all their faults, other shooters, such as Destiny 2, have managed to deliver new content on a near weekly basis. It's essentially their claim to fame, and it's influenced players into wanting that constant shake-up in order to maintain their attention. Thus far, patches have arrived with a decent regularity, but they mostly consist of balance changes, tuning an underperforming weapon or readdressing an overused gadget. You get the sense that there is a noticeable push being made to make the finals as balanced an experience as possible. There will always be certain strategies which feel prominent and powerful, that much can't be helped. In the least, Embark have ensured any one given strategy won't remain dominant for too long. Just recently, a surprise mid-season patch dropped, which included a new game mode and a few small pieces of additional content. This new game mode is solo queue only, and it provides the chance to earn a decently cool-looking new skin set, entirely free of charge. I can't argue with that kind of proposition, and I think it's a smart move, because balance changes alone aren't going to be enough to draw most players back in. There needs to be a continuous flow of new content, and hopefully even meteor drops in this one in the near future, or at season rollovers. Besides, if a given player left due to their lack of enjoyment with the current balance, chances are they're already playing something else by now. A mid-season patch isn't likely to be enough. That's not to discount Embark's efforts by any means, it's simply the reality of the situation. It will take an even larger update which shakes the game's foundations with a new map or new weapons in order to really reel folks back in. Still, what we've seen is indicative of a strong start. The finals also includes a regularly updated store where you can spend premium currency on skins, emotes, and more. While I hardly partake in any such microtransactions beyond the Battle Pass, I have to say that the finals delivers rather well on that storefront. The options are decently priced and interesting, with some slick, unique animations and well-designed skins. New additions are being brought to the store all the time as well, so it's not like this game is sitting stagnant by any means. There's one other core component of the finals which I believe has impacted its community numbers above all others. It's quite simple. The finals is a team-based game in every sense of the word. Almost every balancing decision made in this game is done so with the idea that you'll have a team backing you up every step of the way. Primarily, the fact that you have access to a singular weapon means you'll never be at your strongest in every engagement. Yes, even all-rounder weapons like the F-Car have their weaknesses. This means the most powerful weapon you can bring to all these varied firefights is a teammate.
Easy peasy.
Because chances are, they fill in the gaps you leave behind. Between this gunplay philosophy, the high time to kill, a Battlefield Rush-style objective system where stealing an objective requires a player to stand utterly defenseless for 5 seconds straight, and the bonkers power of coordinated revival between teammates, yeah, you're pretty much completely screwed if you're going at this alone. That's the thing though, most players are essentially doing just that. They're solo queuing into their game mode of choice, messing around, maybe having fun, but mostly losing to organized duos and trios. Even the most skilled players in the shooter space are going to have a hard time countering every single obstacle thrown their way, and again, I think this is actually a strength of the game. But it may be yet another aspect which drove people away, and likely more so than the others I've mentioned thus far. Since you can't make enough of an impact to single-handedly win a game, And a well-organized team is nigh unstoppable in comparison to your lone efforts. Many players might end up logging off with a feeling of frustration. That's where I believe the majority of that 87% hopped off. But it doesn't end there. This causes a domino effect of sorts. The less solo queuers out there, the more full teams you're liable to run into. The more full teams solo queuers get stopped by, the less liable they are to log in again. To be fair, that's why I believe the finals has introduced 2 free-for-all quick-play game modes thus far, where 12 players cause chaos with no team play to speak of. It's fun, and the predetermined loadouts help, but in my experience, the balance of the game kind of melts away when you're on your own. I get the distinct impression that this free-for-all style game, while hectic and often hilarious, is not the intended vision for the finals, and instead was created to appease a certain subset of players who had been displeased with the base experience. One way or another, they're a welcome addition to the game. So, what will it take to fix things? What can Embark Studios do to recapture those initial player counts? Well, the truth is, it's unlikely they will manage such heights again. I'm not going to claim prescience concerning the future of this title, but it's seldom that a game manages to overcome its initial peak. That isn't to say the finals will lack any interest or garner a growing player base. Season 1 ends in about a month. New maps, weapons, gadgets, strategies, and more could be on the horizon. It will be the regularity of this sort of major update, and the amount of new content delivered which will make all the difference for this game's lifespan. This latest mid-season patch is a nice stopgap for dedicated fans in the meantime, and I'm excited to see what an even larger update has in store. In the end, I believe that this high skill ceiling, high octane, explosive, destructive, dynamic game will stick around for some time. But I would place my bets on a smaller, more dedicated group of players settling down and sticking to their guns, rather than an unforeseen massive bump in active logins. Only time will tell. Check out my thoughts on God of War Ragnarok and its Valhalla DLC. Or if you love fantasy and D&D, give our best and worst cards within the Deck of Many Things videos a look. Be sure to like and subscribe for more Freakopolis content, and as always, thank you for watching.